With a 20-year reputation for clean business, Matt Glynn at Code Property Group is the first choice for real estate on the Sunshine Coast and surrounding areas. I've known Matt for a very long time from a personal level and professional level, and he is an excellent real estate agent. He's professional, he holds a high level of integrity, he presents incredibly well, and has a huge amount of knowledge when it comes to the real estate industry. So if you are in the market to buy, sell, or simply get a valuation and find out more about your current property, then give Matt a call on 0404 315 066 or matt.glynn, GLYNN at codepg.com. You won't be disappointed.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Paul's Body Engineering Podcast. Thank you once again for tuning in. I certainly appreciate all the support and listens that have been accomplished over the last, it's been, what has it been now? 5 years since I've started this, so it's been a pretty cool ride. We're in the 190s in terms of episodes, very close to approaching that 200 mark. Welcome any feedback on anyone who would like a particular guest, particularly for that 200 episode mark. Please share any insights you'd like. Today's episode, I want to touch on sleep, because sleep it's a really interesting piece. Really interesting. And what I mean by that is we've grown up in a society, or at least I have grown up in an age where you tend to sacrifice sleep to work more or study more. It's a badge of honor. I'm going to pull an all-nighter, or I'm going to work all hours, or I'm getting up really early. I can sleep when I'm dead. All those sorts of anecdotal statements are made to just, I guess, build up this status symbol of I can run on no sleep. But the reality now is that research has shown that sleep is so important in terms of optimal health. And, making sure that you've got plenty of energy, you've got plenty of strength, your brain functions correctly, you can think clearly, you can make logical decisions, you remove emotion. And we still are in a way, in a landscape where sleep still gets sacrificed. And it's now becoming more prevalent because of the introduction of technology, the introduction of smartphones, the introduction of pharmaceuticals, all these sorts of things that can influence your ability to get a good night's sleep. So I wanted to run through and talk about the 11 ways to improve your sleep. Okay, so these are 11 tips that can really maximize your sleep efficiency, because we have this underlying what's the word I'm looking for? Underlying consensus that we need to get 8 hours. Everyone talks about 8 hours of sleep. It's the magic number, but that's not correct, okay? Everyone is different in terms of the sleep they need, but it's not only getting enough hours, but it's more important the quality of sleep that you get. And that's something that gets overlooked a lot. The quality of sleep that you get, you could be getting 5 hours, but it is very efficient. It's a very deep sleep, and you wake up feeling rested and recovered. Whereas the next person could sleep for 8 hours and wake up feeling tired, which to me would suggest that their sleep efficiency is not good. So you can see the difference there, and it's important that we understand that, firstly. And secondly, if you are getting inefficient sleep or you're waking up feeling tired, then you need to look at what you can do to remediate that and improve it. And I'm going to go through 11 of those steps now. So the first one, and one of the most obvious ones that we talk about, and it is very heavily researched, is blue light exposure or screen time. Many a person will scroll their phone in bed, they'll watch TV in bed, they'll work on their laptop in bed, watch Netflix in bed. And look, that's all well and good if you are trying to wind down. But what the blue light and the screen is doing is it's stimulating your brain, basically. It is creating a high level of stimulus. It is delaying the release of melatonin, and it makes it harder to fall asleep. So it's really important that you get into a really good habit around bedtime in regards to your phone and smart device usage. 1-2 hours before bed, reduce it, remove it. Okay, put it on night mode, blue light blockers. Swap the screen for a book rather than aimlessly scrolling social media. Read a book. That's going to immediately reduce the stimulation. But also, if you need a reality check, go into your phone settings and look at how many hours you are on social media and how many hours you're on your phone. It'll actually probably surprise you. You think you might be only on it for a couple of hours, but it adds up. The 10 minutes here, the 15 minutes there, the 5 minutes here, it adds up. So that can be quite confronting to see. So that would be my first step. But the research shows that the blue light exposure, so what effectively happens is you go to bed, you've just been on your phone, you roll over to go to sleep, your brain's still ticking away. It's still working really, really hard because it's still processing the information that you've just observed. So 1 to 2 to 3 hours later, it's still ticking away. So you're not actually into a deep sleep, you're in a shallow sleep if you have in fact fallen asleep. So that can therefore suppress your opportunity to get a good night's sleep simply by doing that on a nightly basis. So reducing screen time is a really effective way of making sure that you can potentially get a good night's sleep. All right, next one, number 2, caffeine, big one. And when I reference pharmaceuticals at the start or at this intro, I was referring to caffeine because we consume caffeine a lot these days. Caffeine is in our soft drinks now, it's in our coffee, it's in energy drinks, and you can also buy pharmaceutical versions of it to help with you keeping awake. Back in my day when I was at university back in the late 90s and early 2000s, the only caffeine that you could have besides coffee was guarana tablets. I don't know if anyone remembers that. So that's a natural stimulus that would help you pull an all-nighter if you needed to get those last-minute assignments done. Whereas now, man, you can have a can of Mother or Monster or Red Bull, and man, you're pinging because of the high level of caffeine plus the other chemicals in that. Now, caffeine can stay in your system for up to 8 to 10 hours after consumption, disrupting your ability to fall and stay asleep. So if you have an energy drink or even a cup of coffee at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, that is still within your system hours and hours later. So your body's inability to get to sleep is not going to happen simply because you're still heavily stimulated. Like the half-life of caffeine is 4 to 6 hours. So imagine what a couple of cups of coffee or a couple of energy drinks in the afternoon can do. So aim to cut off caffeine at least 6 hours before bedtime. Earlier, if you're sensitive, swap that 3 p.m. coffee for a herbal tea instead. That's a good option. I know we thrive on caffeine. We're a big coffee culture, but it's mostly in the morning. But it's saying that if you are feeling the effects of a poor night's sleep and it's a regular occurrence, have a look at what you're doing in the afternoon in terms of drinks you're consuming and see if there needs to be a change made, because that can really deliver a positive result in terms of your ability to get a good night's sleep. Okay, the next one, try a brain dump. So I have this a lot with clients where they're so stressed, they go to bed and their mind is just ticking away. They're thinking about what they need to do the next day. They're thinking about all the stress they've got in their lives. They're thinking about how they're going to manage the next day. I've got to wake up. I have to do this. I have to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to make this appointment. I've got to get the kids ready. Does that sound like you? It probably does. So doing a brain dump can actually get a lot of those thoughts out of your head and on paper. Journaling your thoughts before bed helps clear mental clutter, it reduces stress, and it calms your nervous system, making it easier to fall asleep. If you spend 5 to 10 minutes writing it down, so your to-dos, your worries, your reflections, it's simple, it's powerful, and it enhances your ability to get a good night's sleep. So have a notepad next to your bedside table, on your bedside table, and a pen. And start to just write whatever's in your mind. Doesn't have to make sense, but it's getting thoughts out of your head on paper. It's on paper, so you're not going to forget it, but it's going to enable your mind to be more clearer, therefore at least give you the opportunity to get a good night's sleep. So it's a good technique, but any of these techniques, reduction in caffeine, reduction in screen time, brain dump so far, have to be done repetitiously. A one-off is not going to be too successful. You've got to do it repetitiously for it to be really successful. All right, eating too close to bedtime. This is a big one, and I know sometimes this is unavoidable, particularly for like shift workers and things like that, but eating too close to bed can spike insulin, it can raise core temperature, internal thermogenesis, and it can also disrupt deep sleep due to digestive distress. If you're having a big meal before bed, or if you haven't eaten for several hours and you're trying to just eat your dinner and then try and maximize the time of getting to bed quickly, it may not work because you may heat your body up due to the process of digestion, but also digestive distress. If the dinner's quite comprehensive, if it's heavy, if it's like a complex carbohydrate or high fat or whatever the case may be, it can really cause a problem in terms of you falling asleep comfortably. So aim to finish your last meal 2 to 3 hours before bedtime for better recovery. It's not always the case. I know it's not always an ideal situation, but at least if you're aware that that could be a cause of your inefficient sleeping, then at least you've got the option to try and make some changes to that. All right, here's a good one, a good tip. Looking at the clock when you wake up through the evening. Now, all of us wake up through the evening at some point, whether it's to go to the bathroom, whether you just naturally wake up from a dream, there might have been a noise that disturbed you, whatever the case may be, and you immediately turn to the clock to see what time it is. Now, what that does is it activates your brain because you're turning to the clock and it's signaling to start waking up. It's signaling your brain to start waking up because you get an instant impact of stimulus. Because what's happening is you look at the clock and say you wake up at 2 a.m. You look at the clock, it's 2 a.m. and immediately you start counting down. You go, okay, I've got 4 hours until I have to wake up. So you start calculating that. And that turns your brain on. Your brain goes, oh, well, it's time to wake up. Let's wake up. You're not in a deep sleep anymore. So at all possibility, remove the clock from your line of sight. If you need an alarm, fine, set it, flip your phone over, turn your clock to the other way, have your phone away from the bed so you don't have the temptation to check it. And then obviously if the alarm goes off, it forces you to get out of bed to turn it off. Good little tactic there to make sure you get out of bed on time. But looking at the clock, as simple as it can be really effective in terms of making you wake up earlier, therefore not getting a good night's sleep. Okay, a simple one, yet a very logical one, is your bedding. Make sure your bedding is comfortable. Is your mattress comfortable? Is it old? Does it need to be renewed? Does it need to be flipped? Does it need to be rotated? Are your sheets good? Are they comfortable? Are they hot? Are they well used? Is your pillow too flat? Is it too, is it too fluffy and thick? Upgrading your bedding for better comfort, cooler nights and a deeper sleep is a small change but has a massive impact. And it seems so logical, right? And many of us don't rotate or renew our bedding on a regular basis. It's just not one of the things you commonly practice. But it could be necessary to ensure that your sleeps are better. A comfortable pillow obviously takes the stress off your neck and makes you fall asleep better because you are in that level of comfort. Comfortable sheets, comfortable bedding. It's so simple and so logical, yet often overlooked. Very important piece. Another somewhat relevant to that is the room itself. Is it dark enough? Even small amounts of light can mess with your melatonin. Block it out with blackout curtains or a sleep mask. Pitch black is best. If you can make your room darker, there's less stimulus, there's less light creeping in. If you're a shift worker or if you have to try and sleep later or go to bed earlier due to whatever work commitments you've got or anything else, and there's still natural light coming in, you want to block that out. So that is a really important thing, and again, is often overlooked because we are just basically victims of whatever the house setup is. You might have curtains on the windows, you might have louvers, but there's still light creeping in. If you can block that out even more, I guarantee you it's going to make a big difference. So making your room as dark as possible is definitely for the win. Now, temperature, another one. Depending on where you live, you might have really hot summers, you might have really cold winters, you might have drizzly springs or autumns. It just depends. So having a regulation around your temperature can support melatonin and obviously a deeper sleep. If you've got internal control measures with temperature in the house, great, utilize it. If you've got ceiling fans, great, utilize it. Change the bedding over from winter sheets to summer sheets or vice versa, depending on your circumstance. Again, these simple things can really make a big difference in maximizing your ability to get a good night's sleep. Now, morning sunshine, something that is often overlooked. And look, this can obviously be challenging for many a person, particularly if you get up early and it's still dark. But if you've got an opportunity, even if you're breaking away from your office or your desk or your workstation for 5 minutes, expose yourself to natural light within 30 to 60 minutes of waking if possible. It anchors your circadian rhythm and improves sleep that night. Start the day to sleep better. If you can start the day well, it's going to set up you for more efficient sleep in the nighttime each time. So 30 to 60 minutes is ideal, but that doesn't necessarily, that's not a rule of thumb or a must do. If you go to work in the dark, and it's a couple of hours before the sun comes up, just take the opportunity to go and get some sunshine in the morning. I guarantee you it's going to make a big difference. It's also going to produce more energy for you. The feeling you get when you get that warm sun on your skin, it's a great feeling. So mentally, from a mental health perspective, it's really positive as well. Okay, next one is mindfulness and breath work. Often overlooked, often considered woo-woo, but geez, I tell you, it's very, very effective, and research is starting to back this. 5 to 10 minutes of slow breathing or guided meditation. It lowers cortisol. It activates the parasympathetic system, which is basically calming the mind, equaling better sleep. If your mind is calm through mindfulness and breath work, you can control your nervous system, you control your parasympathetic system, and you can basically get yourself into a much calmer state, therefore get a better night's sleep. So, simple things like the opportunity we've got in the current times where there's so much free information available. You can jump on YouTube or jump on a podcast and look for a breathwork podcast. Probably, listen rather than look, because obviously we want to eliminate blue light. But it'll take you through like a 3-minute breathwork session, and that could be all it takes before bed. And I'm certain most people can find 3 minutes, okay, to work through a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of breathwork, get yourself into a calmer state, do a little bit of stretching while you're doing it, maybe lie on the ground and get into a really calm state. That can have such a positive influence on your ability to get a good night's sleep. But again, back to my earlier point, you need to do it on a regular basis for it to truly be very effective. All right. Last one, number 11, alcohol. So alcohol, while you can basically pass out after several solid drinks of alcohol, and that would suggest that you'll get a good night's sleep, it actually isn't. It might knock you out, but it fragments your deep sleep and your REM cycles. So your recovery suffers, and even with just a couple, it's very ineffective in terms of getting a good night's sleep. Not to mention the fact you're going to break the night up by having to go to the bathroom multiple times. You're going to be dehydrated due to the sodium content and the alcohol content. It's not ideal. Yes, it may make you pass out, but it's not going to give you a good night's sleep. Like anyone that's listening to this will attest to the fact that you've probably had a few too many one night. You've passed out, you might have slept through the night, but then you wake up feeling like crap the next day. And that's a combination of obviously a lack of good nutrition, a lack of water, too much alcohol, and poor sleep. So the objective is simple. If you are going to have a drink, minimize its impact, try not to have it right before bed, and try not to have a big one if you are focusing on an improvement in your ability to get to sleep. Reduce alcohol will lead to a better night's sleep. It's as simple as that. All right, so look, I hope these 11 points, these 11 methods have given you an idea on ways to improve your sleep. It's something we overlook. When it comes to health and fitness and health and wellness, we often focus solely on training and nutrition. They're the two key pillars of that to optimize your space. But without maximizing your sleep, without managing your stress, you're going to be inefficient and ineffective. You could be the best trainer in the world, you could be on point with your nutrition every single day, 100% compliance, but if your sleep is terrible, your body's not going to respond positively to a diet, to nutrition, to training, because those two things are stress on their own. And if you compound that with poor sleep, which is another form of stress, your body's not going to respond positively to any form of dieting phase or weight loss phase or anything along those lines. So if you can maximize your sleep efficiency and make some subtle improvements along the way, like let's face it, all of these 11 suggestions that I've made are not that complicated. They're not that difficult. There's very little intervention from external sources. It's all about you just improving the environment, improving your habits, and making a few subtle changes to benefit you. And who doesn't want to wake up in the morning feeling energized and having a great night's sleep like I do? I'm sure the next person does. And that will provide such a massive difference in terms of the way you go about your day. More energy. You'll think more clearly. The removal of brain fog. Your emotions will be much more managed. You won't be reactive and irritable and snappy at people because you've had a poor night's sleep. Yes, I know it's a badge of honor to run on low sleep, but at the same time, it's not, because sleep is so integral now. It's a really important piece that we have to manage and we have to maximize. And if you want to go into the later part of your years and run on zero sleep, well, your years are going to get less and less in terms of efficiency. Your face is going to become more withdrawn. Your body's not going to produce as much energy. Your performance in training and daily activity is going to be less and less because the recovery is not there. So let's really put an emphasis on improving your sleep, maximizing your sleep, and making sure that your sleep works for you. All right, so thank you very much once again for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I hope you've got a lot out of this particular podcast. Please share it to your story. Share it directly to someone if you feel they could benefit from this. If you know someone out there that is a poor sleeper and constantly complains about being tired, maybe this is the podcast for them. If you're interested in any of my coaching services, and FYI, we do cover sleep in our coaching. I make sure it is a priority that we try and maximize our sleep to ensure that our health and our fitness is optimized. Please jump on my website, paulsbodyengineering.com, or directly DM me and I'll happily answer any questions. Free consultations for anyone who wants to book in, whether it's a phone call, a face-to-face, or a Zoom chat. But apart from that, thank you once again for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And as I say to every client, every single day, have a great day.
Experience the difference with Matt Glynn at Code Property Group. With a 20-year reputation for clean business, Matt is your guy when it comes to all things real estate. Make sure you give him a call now on 0404 315 066.